Hamashiach, Yahushai, the water, Aman.
The book of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 9. After this manner, therefore, pray ye, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. For if you forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father also forgive you. But if you forgive men not their trespasses, neither will our Father forgive your trespasses. Abana Yahweh Shema Sekawashai, Torah Miyar Aman.
Aman, Yashabiam. Shalom, shalom, Yasharala. Shabbat shalom. All praises to the Most High by Shamash Yahushai, the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Thank the Most High once again for another Shabbat day where Israel can come together in holy convocation as per the commandments that the Most High gave to our forefathers. That's right. We are located down there in South Florida, Fort Lauderdale, 2937 West Broward Boulevard. Okay. I am Elder Lapalal, and my reader is going to be. That's his name. Young Levite with a long name. Okay, today we're going to address a certain topic that's been going around in Israel concerning how we should go forward as to our dress and what we should follow as reminders, keep the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. Because there's a feeling going in Israel that I think it's rooted in the belief that the laws are done away with. That the laws are, as I say, written in our inward parts, so we don't have to actually keep them. And since we don't have to actually keep them, we don't need to be reminded of them, which is a big misconception. So a lot of people who know that the Hebrew Israelites believe that they do not have to wear fringes, because the purpose of the fringes is to remind us to keep the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments, which they are right on that part. But they have the belief that as per the new covenant that the Most High and Mashiach Yahushua made or in the process of making with Israel, the laws are written in our inward parts, so we don't need to be reminded to keep them. Okay, let's go with Colossians 3:17.
The book of Colossians, chapter 3, verse 17. And whatsoever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of the one Yahushai, giving thanks to the power in the Father by him.
Right, whatever you do in word or deed, do it all in the name of the Most High and the Mashiach Yahushai. So whether it's your actions or whether it's your thoughts, they have to be in consistency with the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments, and the testimony of the Mashiach Yahushai. Let's go to Micah 2:10. Yeah, this scripture gotta resonate with Israel. Because the Most High scattered us out of our homeland, man, and drove us throughout the four corners of the earth. We became minorities in the respective territories and countries and so on that we were, driven to. And we got accustomed to their ways of doing things, We got indoctrinated by those heathens. We got alienated from the Commonwealth of Israel. And and stop following the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments, and start following the ways of the pagans, the ways of the heathens. Yes, that Micah 2, verse 10.
The book of Micah, chapter 2, verse 10. Arise, ye, and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you, even with a sword destruction.
Right. The Most High said, arise and depart. Because the places where we scatter us right now, this is not our rest. No matter how much you may look as if the economy is doing well, and you may be personally doing well in life. You may be progressing, so to speak. You may have be doing well than your parents or grandparents or recent ancestors have been doing. We're doing. So you got comfort. You may say attain the so-called American dream, or the dream of wherever you may have been scattered to, or irrespective of that. This is not our rest, and we have to depart. Not necessarily physically depart, because right now we can physically depart and go to a safe place of refuge until the Most High gather us from the four corners of the earth and bring us back into our homeland. But we have to remind ourselves that where we are right now is not our rest. We are still this day in captivity. Maybe not physically as we were in the time of slavery, but as per our being subjugated to the dominion of the majorities of the other races and so on, nationalities and so on, that's around us. We are not in the position of rulership as we're supposed to be, as we once were, as how the Most High want us to be, or wanted us to be. So we have to realize that we are this day in captivity, and we will be we will be gathered from here back to our homeland once again. We are this day in captivity. So let me focus and get me Jeremiah 31. I'm going to focus specifically on some of the certain scriptures that they use to justify their belief that, hey, we shouldn't be reading the Fringes anymore.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 31, verse 31.
As a matter of fact, forget Jeremiah 31. Get Numbers 15, 38. Start from verse 32.
The book of Numbers, chapter 15, verse 32. And while the children of Israel were in the wilderness, they found a man that gathered sticks upon the Sabbath day. And they that found him gathering sticks brought him unto Moses and Aaron, and unto all the congregation. And they put him inward, because it was not declared what should be done to him. And the Most High said unto Moses, the man shall surely be put to death. All the congregation shall stone him with stones without the camp. And all the congregation brought him without the camp, and stoned him with stones, and he died, as the Most High commanded Moses.
Right, so this man was found picking up sticks on the Sabbath day, which was a violation of the Most High Sabbath, but they weren't sure what they should do to him. So Moses inquired of the Most High, and the Most High gave Moses order to have this man stoned to death, because what? He broke the Sabbath day, which was a major violation. Okay, so read on.
Verse 37. And the Most High spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and bid them that they make them fringes in the borders of their garments throughout their generations, And that they put upon the fringe of the borders a ribbon of blue, and it shall be unto you for a fringe, that ye may look upon it and remember all the commandments of the Most High, and to do them, that ye seek not after your own heart and your own eyes, and after which ye had used to go a whoring.
Right. So the Most High gave Moses orders that he should speak to the children of Israel to make garments with fringes in the borders of their garments throughout the generations, and that they should put upon the fringe the borders of a ribbon of blue. Yeah. Can you focus on that now, Taz? For a quick second. We're gonna show you on the screen right there. This is an example. No, you could just no, you're not gotta zoom on. Yeah, okay. All right, there it is. And then show the old picture of show their face and all that. Yes, there it is. Right there's a fringe. There's a fringe at the bottom. And point it out. These are the fringes. The fringes. See, this is the ribbon of blue at the bottom. This is the ribbon of blue. This is an example of the attire that Israel was commanded by the Most High to wear. And this is a reminder to us that we should keep the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments, and in particular the Shabbat day, and all the commandments of the Most High. Okay, so this right there, but a lot of people today saying, oh, you know what? That was the old days. That was the old days. Since the Most High made a covenant with Israel and write the laws in our inward parts, we don't need to do that anymore. Now go now to Jeremiah 31:31. We can rotate it back on. Guys, yeah, you can shift it back now. Jeremiah 31:31.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 31, verse 31. Behold, the days come, saith the Most High, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I have made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand.
Right. So let's see. The Most High told the prophet Jeremiah that the days shall come when the Most High is going to make a new covenant with the house of Judah and with the house of Israel, not according to the covenant that we made with our forefathers. Let's see what kind of covenant that the Most High made with our forefathers. Old Jeremiah, get Exodus 27. Rather get me Jeremiah 29:38. Exodus 29:38. I'm sorry. Exodus 29:38. And we're going to go back to Jeremiah 31. I'm going to Exodus 29:38 to see what kind of covenant the Most High made with our forefathers when we came out of Egypt with Moses.
The book of Exodus, chapter 29, verse 38. Now, this is that which thou shalt offer upon the altar: 2 lambs of the first year, day by day, continually. 29:38.
Yeah.
We done? We done?
Yeah, read on.
Verse 39. The one lamb that shalt offer in the morning, and the other lamb that shalt offer at evening. And with the one lamb, a 10th deal of flour mingled with the 4th part of a hin of beaten oil, and the 4th part of a hin of oil for a drink offering. And the other lamb thou shalt offer in evening, and shalt do thereto according to the meat offering of the morning, and according to the drink offering thereof. for a sweet Savior and an offering made by fire unto the Most High. This shall be a continual burnt offering throughout your generations at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before the Most High, where I will meet you to speak there unto thee.
Right. So if you read the old, you can read the old book of this chapter, Exodus 29. Basically give you the idea that the covenant that the Most High made with our forefathers was one where if you transgress the Most High's laws, then you're required to bring in a lamb, a bullock, and so on to the priest, who will shed the blood of that the lamb bullock. Then the blood was supposed to make atonement for your transgression. That was a covenant that the Most High made with Israel. The blood was supposed to make atonement for your sins. Okay, and then the Most High would forgive you of your transgression. Now go to Jeremiah 31, verse 31. And that was the covenant that the Most High made with us in the wilderness and going forward into the promised land, the land of Canaan, which became the land of Israel. Jeremiah 31, where you were a minute ago.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 31, verse 31. Behold, the days come, saith the Most High, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel.
Right. So the Most High was telling the prophet Jeremiah what was going to happen in the future. He was going to make a new covenant with the house of Israel.
And with the house of Judah.
With the house of Judah.
Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day.
You know that's talking about the whole kingdom of Israel, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. Because at this point in time, the kingdom was split in two. Kingdom of Judah to the south consisted of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. And the northern kingdom consisted of Ephraim, Gad, Reuben, all the other 9, 10 tribes. Read on.
I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break.
Right, which the Most High's covenant we broke. He broke the Most High's covenant. Read on.
Although I was an husband unto them, saith the Most High, but this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel.
Right, but when the Most High is telling her this shall be. The word shall, what does the word shall implies? It implies future. This shall be. This is how it's going to be in the future. This shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel. He didn't say this is the covenant I'm making with the house of Israel. He said this shall be the covenant that I'm making with the house of Israel. Read on.
But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days.
After those days, although all those words are very important, after those days, this is going to give it a clue as to where we talk about the present or we're talking about the future. We don't and when in the future. Because when this was going on, this was basically leading up to the time of the Babylonian captivity. We're talking about 600 or so BC. And it's 600 or so years before the Mashiach Yahushai. Understand? So this is leading up now to the future. And this shall be. And after those days, that's very important. What days? Read on.
After those days, saith the Most High, I will put my law in their inward parts.
I will put my law in their inward parts. What does that mean? The Most High is going to what? Put his laws in our minds. Read on.
I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts, and I will be their power, and they shall be my people.
Right, so the Most High is saying after those days, he's going to put the laws in our inward parts. Okay, and write it in our hearts, and will be our power, and we shall be his people. Read on.
Verse 34. And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor.
And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor. Read.
And every man his brother, saying, Know the Most High, for they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, saith the Most High. For I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more.
Right. So this is what's going to happen after those days. But the key is what days? Because some people have the impression that already happened. That the Most High has written his laws in our inward parts and write them upon our hearts. And we don't need to teach our anyone about the Most High anymore. But is that correct? It's not correct, because we are this day still in captivity. Don't we have to teach our people not to keep Christmas? Don't we have to teach our people not to keep our Halloween? Don't we have to teach our people not to keep New Year's? Because all those are pagan things? Give me a Romans 10. Romans 10 verse. Romans 10 verse 13.
The book of Romans chapter 10 verse 13. For whosoever shall call upon the name of the Most High shall be saved.
For whosoever shall call upon the name of the Most High shall be saved. And we know this is talking about whosoever of Israel. We can go over that another time. Our focus right now is pertaining to whether or not we should be teaching our people, since those laws were written in our inward parts and sown into our hearts. Read on.
How then shall they call on him whom they have not believed?
How then shall they call on him in whom they have? This is the Romans. This is the time of what? This is the time of Paul. Understand? This is after the Mashiach Yahushai. This is after the Mashiach Yahushai came and died on the cross, and his blood was shed to reconcile Israel back to the Most High. So this is after this is actually so-called New Testament, the New Covenant, the physical aspect of the New Covenant. The New Covenant being Yahushai's blood, now replacing the blood of the lambs and bullocks and so on. Understand? His blood is now the blood to make atonement for our transgressions. Understand? But right here now, Paul is saying to the Romans, how then shall they call? Read it.
Verse 14. How then shall they call on him whom they have not believed?
Oh yeah, how then shall they call on the Mashiach Yahushai, whom they have not believed, because the Pharisees had previously taught them not to believe the Mashiach Yahushai. Read. And
how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard?
And how are they going to believe in the Mashiach Yahushai if no one tells them about the Mashiach Yahushai? How are they supposed to know about him? Read.
And how shall they hear without a preacher?
And how shall they hear without a preacher? And what's the purpose of the preacher? Is it not to teach? But according to reading in Jeremiah 31 right here, you say we shall not teach anyone anymore. But that was like 600 years before Yahushai. And right here, Paul is saying that are they going to learn unless they've been without a preacher? So the teaching was still going on. Why was the teaching still going on? Exactly. I mean, we're still in captivity. And while you're still in captivity, you're surrounded by, you're in a wicked kingdom. And our people are indoctrinated by the ways of the other nations. So they need to be taught. They need to be reminded of the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. So the fringes that our forefathers gave us as a reminder to keep the laws, what? They're still required. They're still necessary. They still serve a purpose. Understand? They still serve a purpose because we are still in a wicked kingdom where our people are indoctrinated by the ways of the other nations and caught up in the madness. And how did they learn about the Mosai and the Mashiach Yahushua and the nationality and to keep the laws if they are not preachers? How would I have known about this if I wasn't taught years ago by brothers, at camp? I happened to be passing by a camp and see brothers teaching. How would I have known? If there wasn't any teaching, I would be still caught up in the what society had taught our people for generations. Understand? So when you read in Jeremiah 31, that's not in effect yet. That's a long process. Understand? That's a long process. So I'm going to go to many scriptures, if time allows, to show you that that's not in effect yet. We understand it's a new covenant in that Yahushua's blood is now the blood that redeemed us and reconciled us and give us repentance back to the Most High and forgiveness of sins. But as far as the laws being written out in our inward parts and our heart, that hasn't come to fruition yet. That's going to be when we gathered out of the four corners of the earth and brought back to the wilderness and come back under the bond of the covenant, which I'm going to touch on. Ezekiel 20, but not yet. I'll get in a minute. Let's read on some more in Romans right here.
The book of Romans chapter 10 verse 15. Mm-hmm. And how shall they preach except they be sent? Yeah,
and how shall they preach except they be sent? And what is the purpose of preaching? Isn't it to give your people knowledge of the Most High and the Mashiach Yahushua and even of themselves and their heritage and nationality and culture? To bring them out of the ways of the other nations, to come back to the old ways where we used to keep the Most High's commandments. That was the purpose of preaching. That ain't stopped. And the only time that's going to stop is when we're born and raised in a righteous kingdom. And that will only happen when we are brought back to our homeland. Read.
As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace.
Right. How beautiful are the feet of them who preach the gospel of peace. It's talking about the prophets. And in this day, the brothers, we'll go to the street corner and teach. Okay, that's went there to show that this era right here was after the Mashiach Yahushua, after the new covenant, after the beginning of the new covenant, which was the Mashiach Yahushua's dying on the cross, and resurrecting, and his blood making atonement for the transgressions of Israel. But they were still teaching. All right? So that tells you right there that the process of the laws being written out in our inward parts and on our hearts, that hasn't finalized yet. So we still are required to be reminded of the laws, statutes, and commandments, which is the purpose of the fringes that we encourage our people, as per the scriptures, to wear. Okay, go back to Jeremiah. Third one. Put verse in about 30, or 34. Yeah.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 31, verse 34. Mm-hmm. And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know the Most High.
Right. And they shall teach no more everyone his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know the Most High. We can see that this is not talking about what went down immediately after the Mashiach Yahushua during the time of Paul, because Paul was emphasizing that teaching was necessary. So why then did Yahushua send the apostles to teach after him? Why did Yahushua emphasize to the apostles, to Paul, Paul, do you love me? And Peter, do you love me? Yes, Lord, you know I do. Feed my sheep. And he wasn't talking about food neither. He wasn't talking about a plate of food neither. What were we talking about? The word. Not bread, but the word. You understand? Yahushua himself told Peter to do, feed my sheep. But feed him with what? Wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, the word of the Most High. Understand? So it wasn't automatically written. You didn't know just wake up one day and all of a sudden you're righteous. Because a lot of brothers like myself, we've been studying the Most High's word for decades, and every day we learn something new. Every day we learn something new. So it's not like the first day we realized we were Hebrew Israelite and we were chosen. The Mashiach Yahushua died for us. Then automatically, bam. No, it's a process. That's why the scripture says we shall rehearse the righteous acts. And when you're rehearsing something, that means what? You didn't get it right the first time. You're going to make mistakes along the way. Finish 34?
And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know the Most High, for they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, saith the Most High. For I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more.
Right. So that's how it's going to be in a righteous kingdom of Israel when we are returned to our homeland. Understand? Because we're going to be in a righteous kingdom now. We're going to be the youngins, when the young children born in Israel at that time, they're going to grow up in households where everyone in the household are keeping the laws. So they won't have to be taught the laws. Because everything they see, because they learn by example. Why our children, right now our children in this society, they learn by example too. But what? They learn the wrong examples. That's why they have to be retaught. But in a righteous kingdom, the children are going to be born into a kingdom where they keep the Most High's laws, where righteousness is going to be the norm. It's going to be the norm. Not the exception, but the norm. Get also Hebrew 8 and 8. Hebrew 8 and 8 is basically a reiteration, of what the prophet Jeremiah spoke of during his time. Hebrews 8, verse 8.
The book of Hebrews,
you can start from 7.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 8, verse 7. For if that first covenant had been faultless.
What is the first covenant? Animal sacrifice to make atonement for Israel's sin. Read.
For if that first covenant had been faultless.
Was it faultless? Was the first covenant faultless? Yeah, did it have faults? Was it perfect? It was not perfect. Why wasn't that perfect? Because every time we shed an animal's blood to make atonement for our sins, we go back and do the same sin. So it wasn't that perfect. So the blood of those animals did not take away our transgressions. Read on.
For if that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second.
And what was the second one? Our Shai is dying on the cross to make atonement for our sins. Right?
For finding fault with them, he saith, Behold, the days come, saith the Most
Right.
High.
So for finding fault with the old covenant and finding fault with our people for not keeping the laws, the Most High say what? Behold, the days come, said the Most High. Because even right in Hebrew, right there in Hebrew, Paul is again reiterating, says, behold, the days come. The days hasn't come yet. Even at that point in time, in the time of the Romans, after Yahushua, the days hadn't come where the laws were written in our inward part. It was the process had begun, and steps have been done to have it. I'm saying for that generation. Right?
For finding fault with them, he saith, Behold, the days come, saith the Most High, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah.
Right, he's going to make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah, which is all Israel. Read.
Not according to the covenant that I had made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continue not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith the Most High. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days.
What? After those days. That's the covenant the Most High is going to make with the house of Israel after those days. You got to remember that. After what days? After what days? Get me Isaiah 11. Isaiah 11 and 11.
The book of Isaiah chapter 11 verse 11. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Most High shall set his hand again the second time.
And it shall it shall come to pass. You know, that's a prophecy. When you see the word shall, it's talking about the future. Even the word will, it's talking about the future. But the shall is putting more emphasis on the visionary aspect of it. That is way in the future. And it shall come to pass, read.
And it shall come to pass in that day that the Most High shall set his hand again the second time.
The Most High shall set his hand again the second time. What? To do what? Read.
To recover the remnant of his people.
To recover the remnant of his people. When was the first time? Y'all know the first time, brothers? When was the first time the Most High set his hand? Yeah. Right. The first time the Most High set his hand to redeem his people when the Israelites were in Egypt. That was the first Exodus. Read on.
The second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Pathros and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea.
Right. So the Most High to let you know there's going to be a second time. He's going to stretch his hand again to bring his people from those different countries where we were scattered. Did that happen yet? Are you sure? If it didn't happen, what we doing here? If that happened here, the Most High stretched his hand a second time, or what have we got left back? This place, you know what I'm saying? So you're letting them know that right away. That's talking about the future. It's talking about the second Exodus. Yeah, before I get me was it Jeremiah? Let me go back to Jeremiah about the second Exodus. Yeah, I think that's that one. Jeremiah 30, is it? Shall no more be said. or 16. Jeremiah 16. Jeremiah 16. Jeremiah 16, verse 14. I'm just putting some emphasis on the fact that we have a second Exodus to look forward to. Where the Moses is going to stretch his hand again the second time. Read on. Jeremiah 16, 14.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 16, verse 14. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Most High, that shall no more be said that the Most High liveth that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt.
Right. The days come, said the Most High, that it shall no more be said that the Most High liveth that brought up the children of Israel from the land of Egypt. We're not going to be talking about that anymore. Why? I mean, historically, we could look, if we want to reminisce or so on, I'll go back into history. But the day is going to come, we're not going to be talking about that anymore. Why? No, because we're not going to be talking about that anymore because something more dramatic. That was the talk of the town, man. When we were in the wilderness, everybody heard about how the Moses dried the Red Sea for the Israelites. That was the word spread fast like wildfire. To this day. To this day, everybody talking about it. How the Israel almost had dried up the Red Sea for the Hebrew Israelites. But when the Moses stretched his hand again the second time to redeem Israel from the four corners of the earth, that's what people are going to be talking about. From that point on, going forward. Understand? And from that point on, going forward, is when you're going to see the Most High's law being written in our inward parts. Read, finish that.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 16, verse 14. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Most High, that shall no more be said, the Most High liveth that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt.
Right.
But the Most High liveth.
But the Most High liveth. What does that mean? But this is what they're going to be talking about. We ain't going to be talking about how the Most High brought up the children of Israel from the land of Egypt. What are we going to? But this is what we're going to be talking about. Read.
But the Most High liveth that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north.
From the land of the north, North America. Read.
And from all the lands whither he had driven them.
And from all the lands whither he had driven us. And we were driven to a lot of lands. And I guarantee you, in those lands where we were driven and our minorities, we are following the ways of the other nations. And the only way we're going to come back to our heritage and nationality and start following the ways of the Most High is if Israelites teach those people. We just read in our Hebrews, how are they going to learn unless there's a preacher? I mean, rather in Romans. And I'm saying? So we still have to be teaching our people the words of the Most High, to know the Most High. We have to teach our people that, the Most High is the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, not Allah, not Buddha, not Krishna, not Haile Selassie. You have to teach our people that the Mashiach Yahushua is a dark-skinned, woolly-haired man, not that Caesar Borgia with that pale face, blue eyes, and stringy hair. We have to teach our people that. Because if we don't, they're going to be following the ways of the other nation, the Christianity, which is to their destruction. Understand? So we have to teach, we have to remind our people to keep the laws, statutes, and commandments. And one way to do that is what? Put on your fringes. Israel, put your fringes on. Read. 15.
But the Most High liveth that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north, and from all the lands whither he had driven them. And I will bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers.
Right. That's what's going to happen. Yeah. 20. Right. You got a verse? Con. Psalm 32. Get that. Ezekiel 20, verse 32. The Most High is going to bring us again, man, from all the lands whither he has scattered us. Right? So when these I don't know if some of them may be Israelites. When they're Israelites, so they teach that you shouldn't put your fringes on. That's wrong. The laws are not yet written in our inward parts. We have to be constantly reminded to keep them. Understand? Before you get Ezekiel 20, get Proverbs 12:26. Remember, this is Israel we're talking about. Our people are stiff-necked, hard-headed, and rebellious. That's been our history. There are so many instances of captivity that the Most High had to put us in because of our disobedience to him. And every time he freed us from this captivity, what happened? He went right back to serving the idols and the gods of the other nations, which caused him to put us back into captivity. Proverbs 12:26. Are we going to go back to Ezekiel 20? But for now, give me Proverbs 12:26.
The book of Proverbs chapter 12 verse 26. The righteous is more excellent than his neighbor.
The righteous is more excellent than his neighbor. Who's the righteous? Someone who knows the laws, statutes, and commandments, and is making an effort to keep him. That's a righteous. He's more excellent than his neighbor. Someone who's not keeping the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. That neighbor could be a fellow Israelites, or it could be, in certain cases, the heathens run about you. You're a physical neighbor. You're more righteous than them because we know the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments because they were given to us. Understand? Whereas their gods are gods that they made with their own hands. Idols. But even though we're more righteous than them, and we're so close to the Most High, what happened? Read.
The book of Proverbs chapter 12 verse 26. The righteous is more excellent than his neighbor.
Yes.
But the way of the wicked seduceth them.
But the ways of the wicked seduceth them. Because the righteous can get seduced by the ways of the wicked. And I realize for righteous people get on. You see it on the job all the time. You're constantly surrounded by people who are just doing wicked things. That's why the Most High said you have to, redeem the time. You can't spend too much time around people who, are not keeping the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. They're going to influence you in some way, form, or fashion. And in due time, whatever, next thing you know, they'll be doing, partying on the Shabbat day. You'll be doing all, eating a little pork. Celebrating Christmas, going to the Christmas party. Going to New Year's Eve party. All those things. Partaking in Halloween. All those are ways and instances of how the righteous get seduced by his neighbor. Just like Israel, we were righteous. We are judged. The Most High gave us judges who would judge us according to the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. But we didn't want that. We didn't appreciate the closeness that we had with the Most High. We wanted kings like the other nations. That's us being seduced by the wicked. Because we look around and we see the other nation run about us, living a different kind of lifestyle. And we say, yeah, we want to partake in that. That's us being seduced. So when we go about our daily activities, we could easily be seduced or influenced by the ways of the people around about us, even our own people in wickedness, or the heathens in their wickedness. So we need to be constantly reminded of the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments, which is the purpose of the fringes. I understand. So until we are brought back to our homeland, now go to Ezekiel 20. Until you're brought back to the wilderness and eventually brought back to our homeland, the fringes are necessary to remind us to keep the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. Because it's this process of the laws being written in our heart and our inward part is exactly that, a process which extends over periods of time. Understand? It extends over a period of time. It's not just like magic, like that. You just woke up one day and the Holy Spirit is on you and you just all of a sudden just righteous. Not go ahead. Right. Yeah. Even a lot of these so-called Christians, even the wickedness, they wasn't doing it right. They weren't trying to do right. What do they do? They're just going to go to church one on so-called Easter, so-called Christmas one day, but the rest of the day, what are they? The wickedness, which of course everything in Christianity, I'm saying, is way off anyway. But at least in their understanding of what righteousness was, they wasn't even trying to practice it how they were supposed to according to their protocol. The same thing with Israel. We have to be constantly reminded of the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. That's why the Most High says, "Get me, you have to write it as front leg. Get me Deuteronomy 6:4. Yeah, I think that. Yeah. I think that's it. Yeah, read it. Let me see what it says.
The book of Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 4. Hear, O Israel, the Most High our power is one power.
Read on.
And thou shalt love the Most High thy power with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thy heart, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and thou shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thy house.
Right. So the Most High said we should talk of his laws, statutes, and commandments when we sit in our house, and we should teach them diligently unto our children. Read.
And when thou walkest by the way,
and when thou walkest by the way,
and when thou liest down,
and when it lies down, that these are different instances the Most High is saying, in which we should meditate on his laws, statutes, and commandments. When you lie down, when you walk around the way, when you're going about the business, you should always try to keep a righteous state of mind. Read.
And when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up,
and when you rise up, read.
And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thy hand.
And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand.
And they shall be as frontlets between thine eyes.
Right.
And thou shalt write them upon the posts of thy house.
You should even write them on the posts of your house. The laws should be written on the posts of your house. What is Moses saying? You should have constant reminders around you of his laws, statutes, and commandments. Especially in these days, especially living amongst people who know not the Most High. You have to separate yourself and then, and be reminded when you walk in the way, when you sit down, when you go to sleep, when you wake up. You have to be constantly be reminded of the Most High. Now go back to Ezekiel now. Let Ezekiel 20, verse 32.
The book of Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 32. And that which cometh into your mind shall not be
Right, wait a minute. And that which cometh into your mind shall not be. Wait a minute now. But if that was coming to, if the laws were written in the inward part and in your heart, which is your mind, why is the Most High saying that which is coming into your mind shall not be? Because what's in your mind right now, for a lot of our people through the four corners of the earth where we were scattered, is totally contrary to the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. It is not righteous. It is not the laws of the Most High. It's a doctrine, philosophies, religion, and so on and so forth of the other nations. It's about worshiping Allah. It's about worshiping Buddha. It's about worshiping Haile Selassie. It's about Christianity. It's about all those things which are against the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. It's about false religions, these fake holidays that they have, instead of the Most High's high holy days. That's why the Most High is saying they shall not be. Because that's the state of mind that a lot of our people are in today and will be in when they are gathered from the four corners of the earth. Which let you know that these laws, statutes, and commandments, as per the new covenant, were not written in the inward part. The process has started, but it has to go through phases for it to be so-called, finalized. For it to be finalized, where we no longer need to teach our people. But once we are not in our homeland, we need to be teaching our people. And we need to be reminded of the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. So Israel need to put the fringes on and be around congregation, brothers and sisters with like mind, who meditate and are reminded of the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. Go on in Ezekiel.
The book of Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 32. And that which cometh into your mind shall not be at all.
Shall not be at all. Read.
That ye say.
That you say what? What are the Israelites saying? Read.
We will be as the heathen, as the families of the countries.
That's what the Israelites are saying. That they will be as the heathens. They want to be like the heathens, man. They want to, Shalamah. Right? The Most High ain't going to be like that. We're talking about your Muslim. We're talking about your Ethiopian. We're talking about your Christian. We're talking about African American. We're talking about Jamaican. Read.
We will be as the heathen, as the families of the countries, to serve wood and stone.
Right, that's what the heathens do, to serve wood and stone. Read.
As I live, saith the Most High God.
As I live, saith the Most High. Read.
Surely with a mighty hand, and with a stretched out arm, and with fury poured out, will I rule over you.
Right, see that? As I live, saith the Most High, surely with a stretched out arm, and with fury poured out. What is fury? Most are furious, angry. And with fury poured out, will I rule over you. That's telling right there that our people are being disobedient, stubborn, stiff-necked, and hard-headed. They are not following the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. They have to be reminded, they have to be taught. If they were being obedient, if the laws are written on the inward part, they would have been obedient. And the Most High would need to be ruling over them with such fury and with arms stretched out. They would have came out willingly and obediently. But that's not the case. And that's not going to be the case when the Most High gather Israel from the four corners of the earth, from the different places where we were scattered. A lot of our people are going to come with philosophies and doctrines of the other nations, which they would have to pull apart. Read on, we're going to see how they're going to have to be discontinued from those philosophies and doctrines that they learned from the other nations. Read on.
And with fury poured out, will I rule over you, and I will bring you out from the people.
And I will bring you out from the people. What people? The Most High not going to bring the people. He's going to bring you, the Israelites, out from the people. He's not going to bring you on the people. A lot of people want to bring all everybody else to them. If they are the people in coming, they don't want to go. Okay. Then you're going to get left back. Because the people ain't coming unless they're coming to serve us. We can visit that in Isaiah 14 another time. But read on.
And I will bring you out from the people, and will gather you out of the countries wherein ye are scattered.
And will gather you out of the countries wherein ye are scattered. Because the Most High needs Israel to serve him. Understand? But even though the Most High needs and wants Israel to serve him, we are to be punished for our disobedience. But that punishment, it comes to an end. The Most High is going to gather us from the four corners of the earth, from the countries whither he has scattered us. And read on and plead with us. Read.
And I will gather you out of the countries wherein ye are scattered.
Right.
And with a mighty hand, and with a stretched out arm, and with a fury poured out.
Right.
And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people.
And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people. Remember we just read in Jeremiah 16:14 where it says what? We're going to be talking about the wilderness of Egypt. We're going to be talking about how the Most High brought us out of the land of the north and from the various places where we were scattered. That's what we're going to be talking about. And this is backing that up. Or the Most High is going to bring us into the wilderness of the people. I understand, a second wilderness. This is after us being gathered from the four corners of the earth and the countries where the Most High has scattered us. Read.
And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face.
And the Most High is going to plead with us face to face. And when it says face to face, that doesn't mean that the Most High himself is going to be there having a conversation with you like that. That ain't what it means. It's not literal. But what? You're going to meet, it's going to deal with him face to face because, the people the Most High set up, the hierarchy, the government, understand? They're going to plead with you up close and personal to let you know, this is the order. Just like Moses pleaded with our people face to face. This is the order the Most High set up. These are the commandments of the Most High. The Most High said this, the Most High said that. So on and so forth. Read on.
And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face, like as I plead with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt.
Right, just like the Most High pleaded with our fathers in the land, in the wilderness of Egypt. The same thing is going to happen again. What happened when the Most High pleaded with our people in the land, in the wilderness of Egypt? We were being taught the laws, statutes, and commandments. The covenant that we made with our forefathers were being enforced. And anytime there was any disobedience along the way, The Most High will chastise us. The Most High will send, swift correction in the camp where people got killed off for their disobedience, and quick atonement have to be made for them on their behalf by Aaron or by Moses. Read.
Like as I plead with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt, so will I plead with you, saith the Most High.
Right. So and the Most High is going to plead with us again in the wilderness of the people, leading up to the second Exodus. At the time of the second Exodus. Read.
And I will cause you to pass under the rod.
What does it mean? Moses said he will cause us to pass under the rod. What does that mean? The rod is like a beating instrument, like a correction. The term rod of correction. Yeah. It will cause us to pass under the rod. That's bringing us into compliance with his laws, statutes, and commandments. These are the laws, statutes, and commandments, and these laws, statutes, and commandments I want you to obey. If not, these are the punishments that's going to come upon you, which may even be your death. It will bring us under the rod. Read the precept again.
And I will cause you to pass under the rod.
And it will cause Israel to pass under the rod. Meaning what? Come into compliance, come into obedience, keeping his laws, statutes, and commandments. Understand? That's a process right there also. It's coming down now to that, you could say the fourth quarter, where the laws are being written on our inward parts. All that, give me Jeremiah 31 again. Let's get the exact words, because that's really what I'm trying to bring clarity to, clear understanding of. Jeremiah 31 or Jeremiah 31, 33, 34, somewhere around there. And then go back to Ezekiel.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 31, verse 33.
Mm-hmm.
But this shall be the covenant that will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Most High. I will put my law in their inward parts.
See that? I will put my laws in the inward parts. How does it do that? By bringing you under the rod. I will pass under the rod. That's all the laws are going to be written in our inward parts. Being taught the laws. This is the second Exodus, which hasn't happened yet. And we are reading about how the Most High is going to bring us under the rod in the second Exodus. So if the laws were already written in our inward parts, why would we need to be passed under the rod in the second Exodus, which hasn't happened yet? It simply means that the laws aren't written in our inward parts. The process has begun, but it's an ongoing process until we are actually in the homeland. And that process basically culminates at the time of the Exodus. That's when everything is more, I guess, going to be finalized. That's like the last phase of it. Right now we're rehearsing the righteous acts, and they're going to do and according to what we're reading right here in Ezekiel, a lot of our people are going to be drawn from places where we're in total darkness. Understand? Because what the Most High is really looking for the most part, is looking to seal 144,000. Once 144,000 are sealed, you know what I'm saying? Then the process will continue where the 1/3 are being brought under the bond of the covenant. Yeah, put your hand up. Go ahead, brother. Zechariah 13 and 9. Okay. Get let's get that. Let me see what that's saying. Zechariah 13 and 9. Okay, read. Let me see what that's saying. 13 and 9. I think so. Okay. Yeah, read it. 13 and 9. Then we go back to Ezekiel.
The book of Zechariah, chapter 13, verse 9. And I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried.
Right.
And they shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Most High is my power.
Khan, exactly. That's right. You're right. They know the 1/3 coming through. We tried to the fire. That's also the coming under the bound of the covenant. Go back to Ezekiel.
The book of Ezekiel, chapter 20, verse 37. The book of Ezekiel, chapter 20, verse 37. And I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant, and I will purge out from among you the rebels.
And I will bring you under the bond of the covenant. The bond of the what is a covenant? Yeah, a contract. And when you sign a contract, what does that mean? You have to keep certain agreement. You can't just do what you want to do. You have to do what you agreed to do. Otherwise, it's a violation, and for that you may be penalized. So when you're being brought under the bond of the covenant, it means that you are being brought under the obedience. And if you don't, if you're not in obedience, you can be punished for it, and the punishment may be up to death. Because that's exactly what happened with our forefathers. We will disobey the Most High. Do what? Do death. Okay, read on.
Verse 38. And I will purge out from among you the rebels, and them that transgress against me.
What? And I will purge out from among you the rebels. What's a rebel? Someone rebel. You rebel against what? An establishment. What's established as righteous? You rebel against it. You have a problem with it. And I will purge it from amongst you the rebels and punish you for your what? Your transgression. What's transgression? Breaking in the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. So if the laws are written on your inward part, why are you transgressing? How are you transgressing? That means the laws are not written in the inward parts yet. We have to be constantly rehearsing them. Understand? And be reminded to keep them, which is why we put our fringes on. That's why Israel put their fringes on. Read.
And them that transgress against me. And I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel. And ye shall know that I am the Most High.
Right. See that? And they shall not enter into the land of the Israel. So this is talking about future. Understand? It's talking about future. So all the words, so just to get clarity of what Jeremiah 31:31 is saying, it's not an instantaneous thing. Understand that the laws are written in your inward part. That we shouldn't be teaching our people anymore because they should all know the Most High. That's talking about when we are in. Get me Hosea 2:14. That's talking about when we are in the homeland. So we're gonna wrap it up with the Jeremiah 2:4. Hosea 2:14. Hosea what? 2:14.
The book of Hosea, chapter 2, verse 14. Therefore, behold, I will allure her and bring her into the wilderness and speak comfortably unto her.
Yeah, that there is referring to Israel. The Most High is going to lower her and bring her into the wilderness and speak comfortably with us. It's comfortable in the sense that the Most High letting you know, hey, salvation is for you. But like we said, we've been brought under the bound of the covenant, so it's also going to be harsh if you disobey and transgress. Read.
And I will give her her vineyards from thence.
I will give her her vineyards from thence. That means what? The Most High is going to restore, a flourishing land, land with milk and honey, the crops and all that, flowing with milk and honey and the crops in due season. Read on.
In the valley of Achor,
Mm-hmm.
for a door of hope, and she shall sing there, as in the days of her youth,
Right.
and as in the day when she came out of the land of Egypt.
Right. And we shall sing there. I make joyful noise and feast there, just like we did when we came out of Egypt with Moses and were brought to a land flourishing with milk and honey, a prosperous land. It's going to happen again for Israel. Read.
And it shall be at that day, saith the Most High.
And it shall be at that day. That's when it's going to come to fruition. Read on.
Saith the Most High, that thou shalt call me Ishi.
You should call me Ishi, mean what? Husband or man. That's what we're going to call the Most High. You know what? We're going to acknowledge that the Most High is our king. Our scripture says, Isaiah 54:5, our husband, because the Most High is married to Israel, symbolically. You know that? Meaning what? We should be obedient to him. Read on.
And shall call me no more Baal I.
Right. We should no longer call the Most High Baalam. Or those false, the names that we call those idols. But acknowledge that the Most High is our king and our power, our God. Read.
For I will take away the names of Baal-im out of her mouth.
Right. That's when the Most High is going to take away the name of all those idols out of her mouth. And that's basically the final phase of the laws being written in our inward part. Read.
For I will take away the names of Baal-im out of her mouth, and they shall no more be remembered by their name. And in that day will I make a covenant.
And in that day, which hasn't happened yet, will I make a covenant. Read.
I will make a covenant for them with the beasts of the field, and with the fowls of heaven, and with the creeping things of the ground, and I will break the bow of the sword. Right.
So even the beasts of the field, man, are going to be at peace with Israel. Understand? We're gonna be safe from all those, the lions and the wolves and all that, the snakes, the serpents and all that. They're all gonna you know what I mean, be peaceful with Israel. But Shalamah Gawashai. That's what that's talking about. So we see that when the bulls and the bullocks, the goats and the bullocks and all that were no longer being sacrificed for the redemption. Get me Matthew 27:48. There was a change in the priesthood from the Aarons, from the Levites, because what? The nation of Israel was gonna go to exile after the death and resurrection of Mashiach Yahushua. The nation of Israel was gonna go into exile, also being scattered through the four corners of the earth. So there had to be a change in the priesthood, because we no longer had a physical temple made with hands. Now we are the temple. And the Mashiach Yahushua became our priest. So there was a change in priesthood after the resurrection of the Mashiach Yahushua. Matthew 27:46.
The book of Matthew, chapter 27, verse 46. And about the ninth hour, Yahushua cried with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. That is to say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Some of them that stood there, when they heard that, they said, This man calleth for Elias. And straightway one of them ran and took a sponge and filled it with vinegar and put it on a reed and gave him to drink.
Right. So that's Yahushua on the cross in his final hour of his crucifixion before he actually passed, gave up the spirit. Read.
The rest said, "Let be. Let us see whether Elias will come to save him." And Yahushua, when he had cried again with a loud voice, yielded up the ghost.
Yeah, and then Yahushua, when he cried again with a loud voice, yielded up the ghost. Meaning what? His spirit had left his body, and his spirit went back to the Most High, and he had died. Okay, read on.
Verse 51. And behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twine.
Read that. That's very important. No. Behold, the veil of the temple rent in twain. What does that mean? When something is rent in twain, what is that? What are they saying? What does twain? What does twain mean? Rent in twain. What is twain? That's old language. My old language means two. When something is rent, what does that mean? It's torn. Rent in twain, torn in two. So the veil was ripped. Just like you had a veil right there. If it was one piece, you just see the veil in the temple got ripped in two. Read.
And behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twine.
Yahweh's crucifixion. Read.
From the top up to the bottom, and the earth did quake, and the rocks rent, and the graves were opened, and many bodies of the saints which slept arose.
Right. And what does the renting of the veil signifies? The changing of the priesthood. Signify the changing of the priesthood from the Levites to the Mashiach Yahushai. Because since we were no longer a sovereign nation, because the actual temple was destroyed anyway, since we're no longer a sovereign nation, since we're going to be a nation in exile, that means the Levites will no longer be able to do sacrifice of animals or the ceremonies in the priesthood. So the Mashiach Yahushai now became the atonement and our priest. He was the one now making intercession on behalf of Israel. So that's what we pray to the Most High, we pray to through the Mashiach Yahushai, because that's how our transgressions are forgiven. Because it's his blood, not the blood of animals right now, that's making atonement for a transgression. Understand? So that's why I see like that they're asking. So where are the Levites now? Where the Levites? Are the Levites? Because it says in the scripture that they should be doing this throughout the generations. They should be making sacrifice of animals for Israel or conducting certain ceremonial activities throughout the generations. That was stipulated that those things will be continued throughout the generations if Israel had continued in the land throughout those generations. Because if we had kept the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments, we would have still been in the land throughout the generations. Understand? And the Levites would have been what? Still doing those things throughout those generations. But because of disobedience, understand? Because of disobedience, those animal sacrifices had to be discontinued because they didn't serve the purpose that are bringing us to righteousness the way the Most High wanted us to be brought to righteousness. So Yahushua became the sacrifice in the sense that he died on the cross to bring us back to the Most High. And the renting of the curtain, the veil in the temple, signifies the change of the priesthood from the Levites. And it's the transition. It's gonna retransition back to the Levites. Only there won't be any more sacrifice of animals to make atonement for transgressions. But ceremonies are Passover, all those things are gonna be new moons and so on, the feasts and all that. It's gonna be conducted again, and they're gonna be done by the Levites, just like in the days of old. Khan? So we're gonna continue. We're gonna today We're gonna wrap it up right now. The brothers are getting ready. I think they go to camp. Yeah, Psalm 133. To water Bashamash Gawashai for all those listening on the conference calls, logging in on YouTube or Facebook or whatever media you use. Bashamash Gawashai. Don't forget tomorrow 11 a.m. Eastern. The brother's going to be teaching the Hebrew language and about the Hebrew class for about an hour or so. Then at noon, we're going to have the Sabbath service. We're going to say, Madian Wapanya, Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem. Psalms 133. Shayar, Hama Ailwath, Ladawad, Hana, Ma, Tawab, Wama, Naayam, Shabath, Akyam, Gam, Yakar, Kashaman, Hatawab, Ail, Haraash, Yarad, Ail, Hazakwan, Zakwan, Haaran, Shayarad, Ail, Paya, Madawath Yawa, Katal, Karamwan, Shayarad, Al, Ararya, Tazayawan, Kaya, Sham, Tazawa, Yahawa, Ath, Habaraka, Kayawam, Aid, Iwalam, Ba'asham, Hamashayak, Yahawashai, Tawara, Aman.
The book of Psalms, chapter 133, verse 1. The book of Psalms, chapter 133, verse 3. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. It is like the precious ointment upon the head that ran down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard that went down up to the skirts of the garments, as the dew of Harmon, and as the dew that descended upon the mountains of Zion. For there the Most High commanded the blessing, even life forevermore. Abana Yahweh Shema Sekawashai, Dwara Thamyara Man.
Kan, Shalom, Shalom. That concludes today's Shabbat service by Shamash Kawashai. As I say, tomorrow, most high willing, the continuing of the Sabbath service at noon. Brother.